The Solstice Strengthening Series is an 8-week yoga challenge where we take one class at a time to break down individual postures that make up a sun salutation, working in different sun salutation variations that are unique to your body and allow you to explore your practice so that we can build confidence and empower you to take on the tradition of 108 sun salutations. This will allow you 2 hours in our final class where we will attempt 108 sun salutations to help bring in the light and heat up internal fire going into the winter months and this transition of seasons. But the beauty of it is that you will have gained all the tools throughout the 8 weeks so that you will feel confident in being able to take on the challenge of trying for 108 sun salutations. But as I said, the beauty of it is that is not the goal. We are going to do as many as we can in a 2-hour period with the mindfulness of being intentional, of knowing the options we have to conserve energy so that we don't tire out, we don't burn out, trying to push ourselves through flowing through full chaturangas for the full 2 hours, right? So we have places to play. We understand the tools and the resources that you have as a student so that you can feel empowered taking on this kind of a challenge. So just know that the 8 weeks leading up to that 108, that 2-hour final class where we attempt this wonderful yogic tradition, is allowing you that space to build on your mind-body connection, to understand how you can engage your muscles and strengthen them to feel more confident going into this sequence of a sun salutation, which often gets overlooked in a class. So join us on Saturdays starting at 8:30 a.m. for our Solstice Strengthening Series. We start August 26th. It runs through December 21st. We take a week off, November 30th, that week of Thanksgiving, but otherwise it's 8 weeks where each week we break down our sun salutation and understand how we can use our options to work up the strength and build towards that 108. I encourage you to join us either in person at Free Spirit Wellness or online in our Solstice Strengthening community. Okay, so we are here with Joan, and we are talking about the Solstice Strengthening Series. And you have done it with me 2 years now. This will be the third.
This will be the third year.
Yes, I'm just like, that makes me so excited because I expected this to be something I could continue to do, and I wanted this to be something that people can do year after year and come back to, as well as bring new people in. But it's cool that, you don't kind of realize how far you come until you're like, oh, hey, so it's fun to have this talk and be able to sit down with you again going into year 3 and just kind of being in that moment as a teacher, being like, cool, where I'm at, just seeing the growth, as a teacher. So I'm wondering, as a student, what keeps bringing you back?
It's part of it is definitely doing the exercises that build up to our last day where we do multiple sun salutations.
Mm-hmm.
But it really truly is the focus on the different parts, breaking them down, learning what strengthens each part of the exercises, so that when we get to the solstice, which is the shortest day of the year,
Mm-hmm.
you feel that inner warmth that you've gained from building strength
Mm-hmm.
in each of the postures.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives the sunshine, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and the light and the warmth into that short day,
Right.
and makes it warmer,
Right.
makes it more spiritual,
Right.
and gives me the strength, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to go on and say, okay, that's the shortest day. It only gets better after this.
I love that, because that's exactly kind of the heart and soul of how this challenge was created. Was the solstice is a really great time, transition of the year, that we underutilize, that we kind of, we don't take that day because it tends to be a shorter day. It tends to get overlooked because it tends to bring us into a negative sphere. So it's easy to just kind of like want to power through it. And okay, we're into a change of seasons. Oh, now we're into winter. And you just kind of, like our society tells us, go, go, go.
Right.
And so the beauty of this tradition of this 108 sun salutations, of doing it at especially the winter solstice, when we're headed into the darker months from the warmth and all this, you know, sunshine that we've had, depending on where you're at. But, you know, it allows for that chance to pause and be in that beingness of slowing down and honoring that transition, and really being able to see the power of harnessing that transition versus just letting it kind of be something that passes by unknowingly. And so I love the fact that that is, you know, at the heart of it. But then I guess what I'm getting to is the building up to that, right? Because that tradition is a beautiful thing. And that's the heart of this 8-week challenge that we do. But what is the difference, I would say, if you were to just go into that 108, you know, knowing the importance of that tradition, but what is the difference between going into that without maybe having that 8-week of just building up?
Having the 8 weeks of building up really gives me the strength in the different postures to do them and feel like I'm doing them effectively. And it gives me the strength in the positions, in the postures, that I know I'm doing them right. And so when we try to do, however close we get to the 108, I feel like I have the strength to do it, as opposed to if I don't do the strengthening series before and just try to go into it, it's like, oh, okay, I wish I had built up a little bit more here. But what I love also about the buildup, the 7-week buildup, is you really focus and you realize, oh yeah, that set of muscles really got worked out today. And then when I come back next week, I know we're going to utilize those, but we're going to add something on. And it just, so that by the time we get to the last class, it's all the additives are there. Yeah. You know, the additive positions and the strength. And so it just gives me well, first of all, like, it motivates me. Yeah. And I want to do it. And I feel so much more confident about getting from position to position,
point A to point B,
point A to point B, you know, going from the downward dog, or going from like a cobra up into the downward dog, or something like that, just makes me feel good. And I'd say the other thing that I really appreciate about it is, because there are so many variations of what you can do for an individual sun salutation, I say, okay, I'm going to try to do something that patterns it a little bit. So, you know after I do this many of that, I should probably do a crouch and curl or something like that, just because otherwise I might not get as many together. But it's the confidence of knowing them.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it's an empowering way to go about this tradition. It's a way to be intentional about approaching this powerful tradition that can be something that can really benefit you in your life, and going forward into just harnessing more confidence and more control in your life, in a sense of how you are living. Because we have a control in that, right? Of how we interact in our day, and how we choose to take actions, and how we choose to feed ourselves. And this is one of those things that I think, you know, the tradition in itself, like we talked about, is so cool and so important and can be really powerful. But then when you take a step back and say, okay, well, how can I be a bit more intentional about approaching this in a way where I can feel more confident, or I can feel more empowered, or I can feel a more positive experience? Because going into that, like you said, without doing this work to build up and strengthen and understand how your unique body works in those shapes, and what you may need to do to better, better understand those shapes, to hold them, to get through as many as that tradition asks for.
Mm-hmm.
No, not necessarily as a requirement by any means, and I'd make that a huge point in this challenge. But it gives you a chance, like you said, to understand and build up that confidence so that you can go into that and not feel like you're failing.
Right.
Because I think, like you said, we're breaking down all these variations that you can do in a sun salutation, which 108 sun salutations, that is the tradition. And a sun salutation is one of those short sequences that makes up of only 5 postures. And it's one of those that during like an hour-long yoga class, you can kind of go through really fast without a chance to really understand, oh, it's 5 separate postures.
Right.
So I see a lot of students when they go through those 5 postures in an hour-long class, it's this just having to get through them.
Right.
Without really being able to get the benefit from them, because you're not strengthening or activating your muscles while you're trying to hold these postures and intentionally move through them to, again, benefit your body and strengthen it so it can do the following postures after that.
Right.
And so, like you're saying, I think this power is being able to break these down, understand the variations, to strengthen your body, and then you're able to enter into this, okay, we're doing this repeated sequence. I know where I can take those chances to take my rest without having to feel like I'm failing, because I just do a crouch and curl. I just do something that's a little less energy exertion so that I can later exert that energy back into maybe going back to my chaturanga, maybe going back to, but that's the beauty of having like 5 to 7 variations, however many that we can work in there, to be able to play, right? And that's really what I love teaching my students, is the ability to play in your practice by understanding there's so much on the scale of what you can do in a posture, right?
And one of the things I've done over the past year is, if I'm doing exercise at home on a stationary bicycle, or I don't have a treadmill, but if I did something like that, after I do that, for my cool down, I actually try to do 5 sun salutations.
Love that.
I do 3 different variations when I do them. And I feel like, okay, that's good. And right now it's been a while since we went through the training for them. So I'm looking forward to that, even as we're working up to the 108 sun salutations, because I know when we're going through, okay, this posture and this focusing on one aspect of each sun salutation, the little ones I do, my in-betweens will get better.
Yeah. And so is there there's a sense of accomplishment and goals of, you get a refresher, because after a year,
it's a
like
reinforcement.
Yeah, reinforcement in your practice. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So I guess what questions are lingering now is, what are your goals this year? I mean, are you looking, do you have any specific goals with this, entering this challenge, or just, again, building on your practice some more? Or are you looking to, like, maybe we can reach more numbers in our son, as a group? It can be a group goal, individual goal.
What I'm looking for is rebuilding the strengths for the whole sun salutation, because I really found that during the, as we broke down each posture and did exercises that were strengthening for exactly that one, I'm looking for my sun salutations to be stronger, each of them. And again, yes, the confidence of when we go for as many as we can get.
Yeah.
Maybe not 108. But maybe more than last year.
Yeah.
I'm looking for having that extra strength brought in to get me there.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Joan, I have one last question, if you don't mind me asking, is your age?
I am 68 years old.
Amazing.
Amazing. I like to think that being able to do some of these postures that help with my flexibility as well as strength will help me keep going, so I can be doing this at meant for many, many years.
Yeah, and moving off your mat too. I know we've spoken about you going on hikes and just your practice being so beneficial in gaining mobility and being able to move around on your hikes. And so, and I want people out there to know that, like, any age, this is accessible to any age, and any body type, anywhere you're at in your practice. If you're new, if you're been practicing for years, this is one of those challenges that, like, it's information that can always be beneficial to come back to. Just as great as it is for a new person who's just wanting to understand their practice, to be able to come back to it and be reminded, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that cue, or I forgot about that little tidbit of information that, like, can easily just kind of get lost in our mind with all of life that happens. And
I do a lot of these things. I enjoy doing them, but they really do help me in everything else I do in my life. Little things like, oh, I can, like, actually go into some version of a figure 4 chair pose to put my socks on while I'm standing up. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yeah.
And I challenge myself to say, okay, the longer I can do that, the better my balance is, and hopefully the longer I can keep going on.
Yeah, I love that. And I can only hope that that's what everyone can hope for, is just being able to move their bodies in a good way that feels good for them. And that's what I can hope, again, this challenge can reaffirm for people, is a mind-body connection of understanding your body so that you can understand it off your mat, because we are in our bodies at all times and we're so disconnected from them. So I am really excited to get this challenge going for this year. It's going to start on Saturdays for this year, because Solstice is on a Saturday this year. So I kind of like that because it's different each year. So we're going to be starting on October 26th. It'll run for 8 weeks. We'll have 1 week off the weekend of Thanksgiving. But then, we'll be breaking down each week a posture week by week, as well as a sun salutation variation. And then I'm going to also plan an online community like I did last year to have our replays so that people can connect and get that information, as well as have Q&A sessions. So I'm going to try to have as much available for everyone that's involved in this challenge. And you can do it online, like I said, or you can join us in our studio at Free Spirit Wellness. And I'm super excited to just see how this goes for this year. And I'm so excited to have you back for it, Joan. And I know we've got 2 other people I already know that have done it in the past. So repeat people are great, but I'm loving to see if we can get some new people in here. So I'm so thankful for you to be able to share your experience, because that helps people know that it's accessible. It's something that's not intimidating in terms of this 108 sun salutations that is at the core of it. And even a sun salutation in general can be scary. So allowing this to be accessible for others is really what I wanted this interview to be about. So I really thank you for your time here today.
My pleasure.